Hi everyone. So today I wanted to go back to basics and just talk about our mind and our thoughts processes and the three different levels that are involved in our thought processes. So I'd like to think that you've all seen the diagram of the iceberg. I think Freud depicted it and we use it a lot in psychology. So the three different levels are, you have the tip of the iceberg, which makes up your conscious thoughts. We then have the kind of level that's along the waterline, which we describe as our preconscious, subconscious thoughts. Then there's a bit of the iceberg that is submerged way down, deep into the water, which we associate with our unconscious thoughts. So when we talk about conscious thoughts or our conscious mind, the tip of the iceberg, this accounts for 10% of our thoughts. And when I say that, I mean things like, I'm feeling thirsty, I'm going to go get a drink of water. Or you're listening to music and it evokes certain memories or feelings. This is what we associate with our conscious thought patterns. The next level down is the preconscious, or some would call it our subconscious thoughts. This makes up 40 to 50% of our mind, apparently. So, sorry, a bit of a sniffle. Things like, it's things that you can, things that are in our memory that you can recall to hand if needed. So things like, if someone asks you your phone number and you need to recall it, you'd be able to recite your phone number. Or maybe your PIN number for your bank card. Those are things that are in our pre-conscious thoughts. It's kind of a storage point for all our memories. And then the most important part, which I think, which is obviously the foundation of the iceberg, it needs to be really strong to hold the iceberg up. Our unconscious thoughts, which make up 30 to 40% of our mind. And this is, according to Freud, is the primary source of our human behavior. Like an iceberg, it's the most important part of our brain. And what a lot of people don't realize is that our unconscious thoughts actually influence our behaviors a lot throughout our day-to-day life. So when I say the unconscious mind, it's kind of like an underground library for all our memories, habits, our behaviors, really. It stores all of those deep-seated emotions that we've had since childbirth. The problem is, I guess, when I think about clients, is that some memories, some feelings are just too painful. Even for us in our day-to-day life, it's just too painful. So what we tend to do is try to suppress them, kind of like push them down, just try and forget them, get rid of them, but it never works. The thing with our unconscious thoughts is that it always comes to the surface. In some form, they will always come. You know how it is. Sometimes you'll be triggered by a song, an area, a person, and then this thoughts popped into your head. You're like, where's that come from? I think that's an idea of our unconscious thoughts. The thing is, I think what people tend to do is we draw on our defense mechanisms, and it helps us kind of lessen the impact of maybe the anxiety or the guilt or the fear that some of our unconscious thoughts bring up. So when I say defense mechanisms, things like denial or repression or projection, those are a few of the defense mechanisms that everyone uses. They might not draw on those ones, but everyone has their different defense mechanisms that they use day to day in a way to protect ourselves from some of these thoughts and feelings. And I'll probably touch on defense mechanisms in another video, but that's just an idea of some of the things. Another way that we see unconscious thoughts is through our dreams. It's said that in our dreams, that's where some of your biggest fears, some of your worries really come out. They come out in your unconscious thought patterns, and it reveals a lot of your thought processes. So I guess, think about a client I had, and one of the dreams they had was they were going through a rocky time with their partner. I think she was feeling neglected. And in her dream, she was, how do I say this without sharing too much information? In the dream, she was being intimate with her partner's friend, and her partner caught her in the dream. So the partner was able to physically see them being intimate with each other. Remember, this is a dream, guys. It's not reality. And there was no part of her that was going to act this out. But we talked about the dream in the room, and part of me felt that there was such a need to be noticed, to be wanted. She really felt neglected, that it came out in the dream in that format, if that makes sense. So as I said, she wasn't going to act on it. She wasn't going to dream on her partner. But those were some of the worries, some of the fears, some of the anxiety she was having around the relationship. And that's how it came out in her dream. That was some of her unconscious thought patterns. So hopefully you've got an idea. So I think we love to work with dreams. I'm not a dream analyst, I'm not a dream expert, but you'll be surprised at what you can learn, especially if it's a reoccurring dream. I think it's you probably want to kind of have a look into what's going on for you. What are some of your worries and fears and feelings? So yeah, and that's a good thing about therapy. I think that's where the magic begins, when we can kind of help the client make sense of some of their unconscious thought processes, and then that's how change can begin. Hope you've enjoyed watching. Thanks. And also, actually, before I go, if there's anything that's been triggered, anything that you want more information on, just go to my website. I'll put all the details below. And remember, guys, I give free assessments to tell your friends, to tell their friends, to tell their friends. Come and check out my website. Thanks.